Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 4 of Zipline.
A New Hope.
Yes, Zipline A New Hope, episode 4. This is the official Zipper Interactive podcast. I am Chris Roper.
I'm Jeremy Denham, and joined today a man coming in from his vacation. He decided to actually drop what he was doing and come in to talk to us, Scott Rudi.
Hi, everyone.
So for those of you who don't know who Scott Rudi is, you might recognize him on the boards as Rudi Kazudi.
That's right.
And he is the lead designer for Mag Live.
Ooh.
It's my sexy voice.
That's much better than Mag Dead.
That's right.
It's the zombie
that's
spinoff.
A great point.
Yeah.
Before we talk to Scott today, though, you know what time it is. It's Zcap time.
The first thing we want to mention is happening now, if you're getting the podcast kind of right as it goes live, in the very near future at least. We're doing our Play Mag with Zipper event. So we're going to be hopping on the Mag servers, letting you kill us a bunch of times, basically is what's happening.
That's right, we're letting them kill us.
We'll be on there for a couple hours. If it goes well, we'll do it again in the future maybe, but it should be a pretty fun event.
Yeah, we've done this in the past. We did it for the beta events before the game came out, and it always went really well. Some of the best Mag games I've ever played, actually, were in those Play Mag with Zipper events. We had some really close matches. I have a feeling they're going to kick our butts a little bit this time. Last time, though, we did pretty well. What do you think, man?
We had an epic stand. I think we had the fortune of being Sever defending on Baku on the far right bunker, and towards the end of it, just the human waves coming at us. It was epic. It was actually one of the most fun game experiences I've had ever.
We won one match with 4 seconds left.
Oh my God!
We'd almost were defeated, and with 4 seconds left, we took the objective and won. It was amazing. And for those of those who aren't familiar with what Baku is, might want to explain what Baku actually is for folks.
It's the Sever domination. I'm sorry about that. We have development names for all the maps, and we just over the past forever we've used the little short game names.
Yeah, I don't think we ever refer to the official names ever. I don't think I've heard
we don't
anyone
use
ever
them
say
internally. We don't use them internally. Imagine if we said the real names like Baku, someone would probably sue us somewhere.
And Baku is not to be confused with Sakio Bika, who's a professional super middleweight boxer.
It also sounds like a Star Wars currency.
That's true. And well, episode 4, it's kind of fitting.
Yeah. Now, while we're on the subject of Mag and people playing the game and all these kind of things, Jeremy, you want to talk about the next thing that's happening?
No.
No?
I'm drinking water.
Oh, okay. Then I will say the name, and then you can talk about it. The Influence Mag program.
That's right, the Influence Mag program. We started this Wednesday. This is the beginning of something that we are really excited about. We're allowing everyone out there who plays our game and is really dedicated to playing it the opportunity to influence the game in a way that's permanent. So for our very first effort out there, we're asking people about the domination game times. Is the existing amount of time of 30 minutes too long, or is it just right? Or would you like us to shorten it up? So we've actually put up a poll on the official Mag blog asking everyone to vote. Do you want it to be knocked down to 25 minutes, knocked down to 20 minutes, keep it at 30? It's up to you. The polls will be open for roughly 2 weeks. And then after that amount of time, if whatever the winning answer is, which is 55% of the vote is what it has to get, that is the winner. And whatever that score is what the new permanent domination times will be.
Yeah, and this will be kind of an ongoing thing in the future. We'll try other tweaks to tweaks how the game works, and it won't necessarily always be match times. It could be something else, but those will be coming up later on.
It could be any number of things, and we don't want to say exactly what they are yet because we want to make sure that we can actually deliver on what we want you guys to.
We'll see how much this one breaks the game, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, it won't break the game, though.
And that really underlies or scores the point of why we call it Mag Live, because this game is still very much live and being evolved, and we're looking at how players play the game and changing it for the better, we hope, and always trying to improve it.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. That's the key thing that I think separates Mag from most games out there, is that it's not done just because it's in a box and on the shelves. We're constantly looking at ways to make it a more fun experience for people, and now you guys out there are going to contribute to that yourselves. So, thanks.
Yeah, I think it is. You're seeing evidence of this now, but early on, prior to the game coming out, there was the talk of this was going to be a game that's supported over a period of time, and I think it was a little bit hard to grasp because of what usually happens with the game these days. It comes out, you get 1 or 2 pieces of DLC, and that's it. And with Mag, we're showing that it's an evolving product. Things keep changing. There's more content being added on, and again, this is another one of those things that, like you're saying, underscores that fact and of how it's going on in the future.
It's a long-term plan for the game versus a short-term plan. A lot of games that do have DLC usually put them out in the first month or so, and then if you're lucky, you might get a second pack or something like that. Whereas our plan is a lot further down the road than that. But Scott will talk about that as we get further into our questions.
Yeah. The last thing we want to mention before we get out of the ZCap is just as a heads up for general PlayStation Store usage, PSN, the download days have now changed from a Thursday update to Tuesday update. So anytime we release something nice new to go get, it's going to be on Tuesdays rather than Thursdays.
That's right. And hopefully everybody noticed that when it went live last week. But if not, just wanted to remind you. And now it's time for our interview. That's our new intro music. So a lot of, as we alluded to earlier, there is a difference between MAG and MAG Live. Could you let everybody know exactly what you did on MAG before it came out, and now once it's out, what we call internally MAG Live, what you're doing with the game now?
So during MAG development, I was a senior designer, mostly core items, weapons, characters, cameras, effects, render issues, and so on. So basically, if it moved, drove, shot, exploded, anything like that, it was my area.
And then what about now? Now that the game is out, what is it that you're doing, and how's your role changed?
So I am actually now the lead designer of MAG Live, and it's a whole new ball game, actually, just trying to step back from being in the nitty-gritty of content creation and tuning, which I still do a little bit. The weapons are still mine for now. And going more towards managerial, trying to fight for my guys, trying to make sure that some of the big features that we want get in, all that stuff.
We had a designer on a few weeks ago, Jason Olander, very good friend of yours, good friend of mine as well. He's a systems and technical designer, and for people who aren't really familiar with the hierarchy of design, we touched on this a little bit with Jason when he was here, but what is the difference between a lead designer and someone who's a systems technical designer like Jason?
Well, it's basically, in Man Backs Beyond Thunderdome, I would be master and he would be blaster. So I can't actually do anything myself. He actually has to do everything. So without Jason, there is no MAG. Oh, can we edit that out so he doesn't ask for a raise or something?
No, well, if we ask him, he'll probably say, let's amplify it and repeat it.
Yeah, just on the looping.
And you also did some prototyping work on SOCOM 4.
Sure.
SOCOM 4 is our next game coming out down the line. You're not attached to that one anymore because you're so focused on MAG, but what exactly was your role in that game?
Well, actually, so Zipper isn't the hugest development house, and so there's a lot of sharing of resources among people. So pretty much almost every designer in the building has worked on both projects. I had the fortune of working on S4 early on, a few years ago, when we were still just going through the basics, getting people to move, getting guns to shoot, and so on. Most of which was shared with MAG, so it was actually a pretty easy transition for me to go from one to the other. So just basically the initial way that guns worked, characters moved around. I did a lot of character work at the time, trying to figure out what memory limitations we have for the number of animations, how did the animations work, and so on.
What's the difference when you're working on two projects at the same time, even if they are different stages? What's the difference in approaching MAG versus SOCOM 4?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I mean, there's so many similarities and so many differences, really. The core things, SOCOM 4 is a third-person game, and so it shares a lot of stuff that you see in MAG and remote players. In fact, it's identical issues. With MAG, of course, we decided to go with the first person, which was the first time Zipper did anything remotely like that, which was its own challenges. And we're going up head-to-head with people who've been doing it for 10 years, and with much larger teams to do it, too. And so it had its own challenges.
Let's get into some reader questions here. Start off with one of the MAG ones. I'll come back to the top one here at the paper because I think it's an interesting question for the SOCOM crowd. But getting into a MAG question real quick, RY Grimace.
Hey, celebrity
says, any chance of a semi-automatic assault rifle in MAG's future?
There is a possibility. We do have set up for that. What we did find during the years of development is we we had that option, and less than 1% of players internally and externally were using it. And so, as everybody knows, we're using just about every button on the PS3 controller, and so every button is at a premium. And so anything that really didn't see much use at all, we had to get rid of. We really took Occam's razor to a lot of the product.
I think this is a very simple question, but it's actually one that's come up a lot on the SOCOM forums. And a lot of people just want to know, can you jump in SOCOM 4? So far, none of the gameplay footage that we've released has shown whether or not you can jump.
This is coming from a lot of people, but this one specifically is from Spectre MK23.
That's right.
But a lot of people want to know if you can jump.
Yes, you can. You can also vault. You probably vault more than you jump, honestly. Just from the level layouts that I've been helping
over a
playtest.
cover as opposed to with the giant pole, and you're going for bronze, silver, gold.
Well, we can do the pole vault too.
Okay.
I mean, that's
That would be
actually what my
excellent
prototyping was all about with S4, was the pole vaulting.
Track and Field 2010.
Correct.
Yeah. Let's get to Zotter, who says, "What are the chances that we will?
Zotter.
What are the chances that we'll see more vehicles for MAG?"
Pretty good, actually. We've got some built. It's not a question of if, it's when. And it's basically when do we feel it's going to be appropriate to release these levels. Because we're looking for impact. Download stuff is at a premium as well. So it's just a matter of time before those do get in. But we want to make sure it's the right time.
And it all ties into our long-term plan.
Correctamundo.
Me, Ram Fan, this is his name. I'm not saying that I'm Ram Fan. He had a lot of questions, and we've put them together a little bit and then some paraphrasing. But will we continue to see more specialized varieties of the current weapons like we have in the DLC so far? For those of you that don't know, we've had special versions of the sniper rifles and the LMGs. And is it possible that you'd replace existing weapons with different ones, changing one of the grenade launchers for flamethrower, for example?
No and no. So we're going from doing varieties of existing weapons to going to whole new weapons. We're going to start releasing large amounts of weapons fairly soon. Date to be determined and published diligently by Dunham. As far as replacing weapons, I'm not a big fan of taking anything away from the game that we have released. So unless we see that nobody is using it at all ever, then you won't expect anything to disappear. But I have to say for the record that one day I will do a game with a flamethrower in it. It will happen, gentlemen.
You also have a thing about jetpacks. Can you explain that? So I'm gonna bust the door wide open. In every meeting I've ever been to with Scott Rudi, somehow jetpacks come into the conversation. What's the thing with the jetpacks? And will we ever see them in MAG?
I'm a big jetpack fan. Unfortunately, I don't think they will make it into MAG. I can dream, but I also recognize reality here. Been a jetpack fan all the way back from Tribes, and it just was. It really took the first-person shooter in the third dimension for me, and just the flow and gameplay of Tribes is yet to be equaled or mimicked effectively. MAG has its very different play style, which I also love dearly. But as far as the feeling of movement and flow, nothing has come close to Tribes.
Fanboy. All right. Go ahead, Chris.
Mass Flogging says, "Why is the helicopter spawn stationary on the battlefield?"
Yeah, a lot of people always want to know why is it a stationary spawn versus something you can just fly around in circles.
And why is there so much flogging?
That's actually flogging during mass. It's not a number. Yes. So our helicopters actually run along a spline, a pre-computed path in the game. And we did this mainly because our levels were built in such a way that having free flying through a mission where you have total control over your aircraft would be a big no-no. It's kind of the same reason they don't allow flying mounts in the original content of WoW. As you build your levels a certain way with certain limitations. So for us to add like flying vehicles and stuff would break several areas of the game completely, which I'm sure everybody would enjoy. We've looked into it, maybe a possibility in the future, but just out of scope for this year.
X Factor 0693 has another basic but much asked about question. Will we be able to customize SOCOM 4's look sensitivity to our liking? You're a core gameplay mechanic sort of guy. You going to be able to do that?
Oh, yes. In fact, we've been playing around with that quite a bit, focus testing that extensively. And it's incredible to see where age plays in the look sensitivity thing. You have different settings for 35-year-olds, and you have different settings for 20-year-olds. 20-year-olds want it all the way cranked up. I mean, you can't imagine how they're able to, the dexterity that they've got. And the older guys, you give them those same things, and it's uncontrollable. So
for me, though, what's weird is, I grew up playing the 80s and 90s, and, it's like first-person shooters went back to Doom for me.
Sure.
And so I'm mouse and keyboard all the way, and on a mouse and keyboard, I have my sensitivity cranked through this roof.
Yes.
But then for me to eventually get first-person shooters down on a dual analog stick thing took me forever.
Yes.
And so I play kind of in the middle. I can't deal with it all the way up because that's not how I grew up.
Right.
So that age thing makes total sense to me.
Yeah, I'm the same way. The mouse and keyboard actually or more specifically the mouse, just allows you the incredible amount of control in both dimensions, up and left and right. The DualShock, it's a great controller, but it's analog sticks with range of motion. The Xbox controller has the same limitations, and the good thing is that it's only other people with the same controller that you're facing with, at least for the near future.
Yep.
Ooh,
curious answer. Oh, Jeremy, why don't you take the next one?
Are you planning on altering or improving how vehicles control in the future? Haven of Life wants to know that.
Oh yes. So I got so PO'd at our vehicles recently that I went through and I retuned them all. And so after a long time of trying, I finally got the handbrake slide and other neat things going on that with the upcoming patch, you will see huge differences in the way our vehicles perform for the better.
And that'll be in our next patch. We just don't have a specific date for that one yet, but it will be in that next patch, whenever that is. We'll have more information on when you see that patch later in the month. No specific date yet, but later this month.
Soonish.
Yeah.
Bacon Evolved.
Yes.
Or is it Evolved? Something like that. It could be Jeremy's typo.
I think it's a typo.
Great name, by the way.
He has a large number of questions, so we picked one that could be expertly answered.
Wait a minute.
What's that?
Isn't bacon evolved really just swine devolved? Isn't that what bacon is?
No, I think it was the other way around.
You've blown my mind.
Yeah, it's a
right.
cyclical thing. It's
Just trying to figure that one out.
It's like wrapping the high score around in Pac-Man. He says, want to know what are the finer points of weapons tuning, and what are the motives for the changes that you make?
My motivations are basically money. Basically every type of weapon has its own role in the game. Like submachine guns and shotguns are the close quarter weapons, and the assault rifles are kind of the jack of all trades, master of none. Sniper weapons and the machine guns are the longer range weapons. We're getting there with the LMGs. Please stop with the LMGs. I'm continuing to tune the LMGs because they are not there yet. And I really have to point out that this is a live product. We will continue to tune where we see fit. And chances are, if you're being frustrated by something like the LMGs, light machine guns, for the record, I am also frustrated with them. And just through the process of tuning and delivery is not a quick turnaround, actually. So with the next upcoming patch, you will see yet more changes. And yes, it's basically the foregrip stability bonus, but also some other slight changes. And so basically to fulfill its role of support and kind of distance gameplay, not so much as the medium machine gun, but you will see it if you're running and gunning with the LMGs, you will probably negatively affected by the upcoming patch. We want you to crouch or go prone and stop moving when you want to use this effectively. Up close, sure. I mean, it's going to be hard to tune that weapon to be ineffective up close because it is a machine gun, right? Mm-hmm. The bullet's got to go somewhere. But it shouldn't be the all-purpose weapon that it is right now.
Before we ask the next question, this is something you and I have had a lot of discussions about. What is the difference in developing a weapon to make it realistic versus perceived realism?
I'm a big fan of perceived realism. I used to make flight sims, and the reason you don't see a lot of flight sims anymore is because we kept on going for realism, and it got to the point where you actually had to be almost a pilot to play the game, and we pretty much killed our own industry by trying to go for ultra realism. And so what we want is we want that nod to realism. We want to know that in flight sims terms that the Zero has a much better turning rate than a Corsair, right? But the Corsair is faster. So you have to obey those rules. And the more you do, I mean, that's just good gameplay right there. But when you start worrying about performance at 18,000 feet as opposed to 25,000 feet and really making negative gameplay decisions based on that to be a slave to reality, you're making bad game decisions. And so, my motto is just, nod to reality, but you are making a game, and gameplay must come first.
Can you give us an example of a weapon or two that have your ideal of perceived reality applied to them versus how they would perform in real life?
Sure. The easy one is fire rates. So a lot of people know basic fire rates, or maybe not so many people, but enough to scream loudly when it seems like we're off in the game. And one of the things with most shooters is the fire rate of a shooter game is actually much lower than you would see in real life. There's several reasons for that, but mostly it just ends up to be better gameplay when you have a slightly, 10-20% slower fire rate than what you see in real life. What else? So the relative realism stuff, like the people believe that the AK-47 is less accurate and does more damage than say an M4. Well, we build that into the game a little bit. The M4 is slightly more accurate, slightly higher fire rate, does slightly less damage per bullet than the AKs, and so on.
Thank you.
Zeal01 says that in the concept art, the last slide under technology is a stock SMG with an optical sight and a bayonet. It's the coolest gun he's ever seen, so what are the chances that we'll ever see this available in-game?
On the SMG specifically, pretty slim. On assault rifles and stuff, I want the assault rifles to be the Swiss Army knife of weapons, where if there's an attachment, it probably will fit on an assault rifle. SMGs having an optical sight like a 4X optical, I think it kind of goes against its basic role as a close quarter-ish weapon. I think the reflex sights that we currently have are pretty good, and that's probably where they're going to stay. As far as a bayonet on an SMG, maybe for an April Fool's Day thing. I've yet to ever actually see that in the real world. Bayonets, though, in general, are something that we're looking into.
I actually have a proposal.
Yes.
That we attach a 6-foot spear to a purse pistol.
Ooh.
And see what that does.
You know,
we call them the OMGs.
There's people working here that could probably make that happen in real life.
Dirty Walter, a very prominent poster in the SOCOM world, wants to know what are the odds that SOCOM 4 is actually going to come out before the end of 2010. Be honest, he says.
Be honest. I would say pretty good. It's shaping up real well. The actual ship date, I don't know if it's actually been determined.
It is unofficial.
It's unofficial. We have a time frame, which is fall.
Yes. And again, we are looking to ship a quality products, and so it's ready when it's ready, but we're planning on the fall sometime. And
it's fun. I was playing it just the other day.
Yep.
I think people are really going to like it.
Yep.
Blackula? Something like that.
It's Blakuya.
Blakuya says, what's the difference between the 3 shotguns other than ammo capacity?
Blackula is a great movie, by the way.
Yeah, I was just chuckling about that. Thank you very much for that today. So the differences are, in general, the more rounds a shotgun will hold, the slower the fire rate will be. So basically, we have this little gameplay trade-out. Do you want a lot of rounds, or do you want to be able to fire it quickly? So the Raven shotgun, the Bodini, has the fastest firing rate.
Evo Viper 77 wants to know how the game determines if you are auto bled out after dying or not.
It's actually a kind of a little logic that we got. It is based on damage, and there's other things that we have to do because of our physics engine. If you were killed by an explosion, you will automatically bleed out. There is no reviving from an explosion-based death, and that's because of various ragdoll issues. It's all very complicated and odd.
And missing bones.
Yes, and there's player capsules, and then there's bones. But it really goes on damage. If you get a headshot with a big sniper rifle or something, chances are that guy will not be revivable. If you nail somebody with, say, a pistol a few times in the body, it's probably being a good chance that you'll be able to revive him. So basically, the more damage incoming on that player, the least chance he is being revived.
On a related question, I see this pop up every now and then. People want to know, does it make a difference where you stab someone with a knife to kill them, or does it not?
It does not, actually. What we do, and we periodically go in there to check it, because sometimes the shake's loose, but the body part doesn't matter, but actually it does matter if it's in front or behind or on the side. So sorry about that. I thought you were talking about location on the head versus torso. Mm-hmm. But if you actually stab somebody from behind, you do a lot more damage than somebody up front. And this is specifically because of a person called Tyler Woods, whose in-game name was T Woods. So that was real special when we started playtesting internally to be playing with Tiger Woods. And his favorite thing was to come right at you from 50 yards away, weave and bob, and come up and stab your ass, just right in front of you. And so we started looking into various ways to help control that. And so one of the things we did not want to lose is that awesome stealth kill of sneaking behind somebody and knifing him and sneaking away. I mean, it's a huge deal. And so we got it to where, well, shoot, if you're behind someone, let's just do more damage and make sure that's the insta-kill, even with the heavy armor guys. But I don't want people rushing at you and killing your heavy armored guy with one hit from a knife. And that may be the way that some other games do it, but it's something I feel pretty strongly about.
And just to speak completist, what about front versus side?
Front versus side is halfway between the two. So front is 1 times, side is 1.5, and back is 2 times damage.
Sweet.
Airbags wants to know, will any of our questions... There's
Safety
a lot of ways
first.
you can go a lot of ways with that.
Safety first.
Will any of
Family
our
show.
questions that make it to the podcast be answered with something other than a vague answer?
Ooh,
I think that maybe...
Yeah,
Maybe.
This is something we'll have to talk about another time.
Yeah, we'll come back to this
we'll
in
see.
the coming weeks.
We'll
That's
see.
right. Soon.
Have patience.
TG Crimson wants to know that it's more of a statement than a question, but TG Crimson thinks that an LMG, back to those, should cost more than a fully loaded assault rifle or an RPG. What's your opinion on that, and are there any changes along those lines coming?
Actually, he's not too far off, and in the upcoming patch I have played around with the cost of weapons. And so one thing we cannot do or do not want to do is increase the price of various weapons. So I went ahead
Because
and...
then you would take away from something that somebody's already using.
Correct. There are people out there who are using every last credit in their budget, and so to add, you'd break existing budgets basically, and that's a bad thing. So what I did was went through, and this will be happy news for several people. Pistols now cost 0 credits, since you are forced to have them, and no, we're not going to take them away. Even if you don't use it, you're stuck with it. Deal with it. But I have made all the little weapons, submachine guns, shotguns, even assault rifles, a bit cheaper. And so by effect, in comparison, the LMGs are a bit more expensive now.
Sweet. AI Crockett wants to know what your motivation was in deciding what weapons to include in the game. And also, since MAG is set in the future, why isn't every weapon full of laser beam guided or assisted guns?
Excellent. So this is actually one of the toughest things about the job, is to figure out what weapons you're going to include in your game. And this is why I'm just insanely jealous of all these sci-fi shooters out there, because you could just say, we need a sniper rifle to behave thusly, so we'll just make one up. Or, we want a weapon that shoots frisbees that explode on people. Let's do it, and there's some reason for it.
We should do that.
Yeah, with jetpacks. So it comes down to you go out there, you do a ton of research, and you go actually to places where people shoot a lot of guns and ask them, what do you like? And a lot of people come back, the HK416, all that stuff, is the bomb. And you really have to go through and find your just the pillars of what people want in a game, and
Because there's also expectation.
Absolutely. Yeah, why didn't you have this is a common question. And a lot of the guns that we had in the shipping are being added to by yet more weapons. So if you have your favorite gun, somebody brought up the G36 on the forums. Of course, we cannot call it the G36, nor will we, but we will have it in the game at some point. It's just, when is it best that we add that to the game? And we're taking that point by point. And as far as the futuristic question, the U.S. military forces have been using a version of the M4 for the past almost 40 years now. The M16 was actually developed back after World War II by a decade or two. I think it was the 50s, certainly not as late as the 60s. So the thought that we're suddenly going to convert to lasers in the next decade or so is probably, as much as I want it to be, or flamethrowers, all flamethrowers, is probably not going to happen. Actually, we'll probably see the M4 on most battlefields and versions of the AK in 2025.
But I think that they're also curious about laser guided, like sights and whatnot.
Yes. So that is a lot of DLC stuff. You will actually start seeing a lot more techie gadgets. We've got stuff like the motion tracker straight out of Aliens, and other toys. Right now we have only 4 gear items that are the tech based, and that makes me very unhappy. And so we'll be adding a lot of those in the future, and a lot more skills. And it's we really want to start leaning on the whole persistent character progression aspect of MAG, and that's adding a lot of skills and content to allow players to customize and choose.
Bill MX13 wants to know, if you had to pick a perfect loadout, what would it be? And also, what is your favorite action to perform in-game, be it sniping, stabbing, grenading, spraying bullets, repairing, healing, or etc.?
I'll answer both with one answer. Just the Peschenegg with bipod. That's it for me. That's the one weapon that really clicks with me. And that's the weapon I try not to play with, because I jump in all the time and try to evaluate all the weapons. I've been playing with a lot of shotguns and submachine guns lately, just to make sure that the latest changes were effective enough, because they were, back and forth. They were ineffective. I think 103 almost killed them, but then we've been steadily bringing them back ever since. And I'm fairly happy with the way they are right now. Shotguns, I think, need a little bit more work. They seem a little too random. I'm not as happy as I should be with those. But what was the question again?
Favorite action to perform in game.
Peschenegg. I just love going prone, laying down that bipod, and just covering my fire zone and taking out whoever dares enter it.
McRaydell wants to know how long it takes to create and design a single weapon with working animations.
Setting up the system to do that took almost 3 years. Now that we have the system in place, a few weeks before you could really start good testing on it. The models themselves take a while to build. The animations not quite as long, depending on the weapon, and then from there it's just tuning.
What is the Mad Fireball wants to know what the end vision for MAG is. In
Great
other
question.
words, when will it be considered quote-unquote complete?
I don't think it ever will be. I mean, there's always going to be something out there that we'll want to do to this game. I mean, the minute that we think we're done with this game, I don't have a lot of interest in staying on it, because what are we going to do, There's just so much out there, man, and there's always something you could be doing with your game. And the frustration, I've been in the industry for 16 years now, and it's always been so incredibly frustrating and relieving too, when you put that thing in a box and you're done with it. Every game I've ever worked on, every developer I've ever talked to has been unsatisfied. Has been, oh God, we could have done this or that, or I really wanted to do this, but we had to drop it because of time. And when you get a game like us, or another game like WoW or something, where you can actually sit there and go, wow, players really seem to like this. Let's take that and just go nuts with it. That's like the second life of a game, man, and it's where it's at for me. I just love doing that. I love to see what people want in a game, and then going in there and trying to deliver.
Speaking of delivering, this has nothing to do with it. I'm just looking for a way to segue. Mr. LaPointe wants to know what prototyping is. When we did your profile earlier in the week, it said that you did S4 prototyping, and I mentioned it earlier in the podcast as well. What does that mean?
Sure, it's part of a iterative development process, which I favor, which is basically when you design a game, unless you're doing sequels and stuff like that, where you're just basically churning out the same stuff with different looking stuff, you'll have something where you have an idea of how you think it will work, but you're not quite sure. That's a little dirty secret of the design industry, is that we have ideas, but we're seldom certain how things will turn out.
I don't know if this is picking up on the mics, but we got some S4 music in the background right now.
It sounds like we're being invaded.
I know.
So it really you take, so for this iterative process, that you don't try to make it and be done with it before you start looking at it. You start with something
Get it
primitive,
in super early, really rough, like
and
a sketch.
ugly. Yes, and you have to take that with a grain of salt. I've literally seen projects canceled because the wrong person saw it in a prototype. I've got some stories which I should not say, but so with a tight group of people who actually know what they're saying, you basically go, okay, you start running around, and as soon as you can actually start running around and doing this action, it's I wouldn't say easy from that point, but it definitely lets you know what you're doing and where the rest of the work is going to be. And the more you can prototype and iterate, the better game you're going to end up with. The last thing you want to do as a designer is write 200-300 pages of design doc, hand it off, and then take a vacation for 3 months or years.
Yeah, that's the last thing I want to do.
Yeah,
3-year vacation sounds awesome now.
I'd go nuts. I've been on my week vacation, the first one in 3 years, and I've already been into work twice now.
I know. and you're going to be part. And you're going to be part of our Play with Zipper later today.
Yeah, I'm very bad at vacations.
I think that brings us to the end of the show, unless you have anything else you want to add or go crazy.
Oh, man. There's just so many weapon-based stuff. Guys, keep posting on the forums. I read that stuff. I've had less time to respond to you. Most of you know that I go up there and I'm pretty active with responses and checking up on you guys and looking for...
He's checking on you.
I'm checking on you. I read your personal mail, too. And I really look, and I also go into the game and listen to people. So if you see Rudi Kazudi in a game playing Raven, which I am right now, say hi. Don't kill me. And pretty soon it's going to be a lot harder to team kill.
Yeah.
So just a little warning out there, all you scammers and glitchers.
We had a very long conversation about this.
Yes.
And I think what came of it was very, very good.
Yeah. We had to put the hammer down and identify some core things where people were making other people very unhappy for...
Yeah, in a nutshell, you won't have to worry about team killers for much longer for the most part.
It's going to be much harder.
Yes. Before we go, we also need Rudi's zip tip.
The zip tip. So let's just go with something weapon-based. In general, I've taken most of the weapons to be more accurate when you're not moving and when you're in a crouched or prone stance, especially the bigger weapons. If you got a machine gun or even an assault rifle, if you crouch and you go prone, you will be much more effective. The shotguns, of course, will always have the same pattern. They basically shoot their cone no matter what you do. The submachine guns and pistols and stuff are less affected by stance. And so basically if you're missing a lot, stop moving, go crouch and do some controlled bursts, 2 or 3 shots, and then aim again.
Unless you're playing against me. If you're playing against me, run like crazy, fire sporadically, give me a chance, damn it.
Yes.
I would really like to make it through the game without being killed 100 times. Seriously.
Before we go, we want to mention
I'm not kidding on this, folks.
Yes, he needs some help. Before we go, we want to mention that if you have not done so,
I need
please
help
go
is what
to,
I'm saying.
help Jeremy. Go into iTunes, rate the show on there. You can subscribe to us on iTunes for
for free
for a little while now. Yeah, we're free
no
on
charge.
iTunes.
That's right.
Astonishing. But you can find us on iTunes. We're also on the Zune Marketplace.
That's
I don't
right.
have a Zune, so I can't actually confirm that it downloads to the device, but it says it's on there.
But it's set up.
Yeah. And then also you can find us on Twitter. We're just under Zipper, @Zipper.
That's right.
And we're on Facebook. You can search for Zipper Interactive. In either case, look for the big red Z.
That's right. And make sure you like us. And if you don't like us, mark it anyway because we want to be more popular. And always feel free to email us at zipline@zipperint.com.
I think that's the end of the show. Next week, actually, do you want to do the pitch for our guest next week? Very special.
Next week, we're going to have Mr. Ed Byrne. Ed is our creative director here at Zipper. He has his hands in a lot of projects from way back until now. He can talk about pretty much any game Zipper's ever worked on, but we're going to talk about SOCOM 4 and MAG. So there.
Yeah, so maybe some more SOCOM 4 information next week for all you people that want
maybe
to know some more.
And also, Ed is also the guy who did the narration on the director's cut video of the first trailer we did. So if you are familiar with that video, then you know who we're bringing on. He's also got one of the best laughs in the company.
Yeah.
He also, different spelling, but the same name as one of the guys from Saving Private Ryan.
That's right. That's
he
true.
draws teeth and eyeballs all the time, too.
He has eyeballs all over his office.
Yeah, it's a thing with him.
It's strange.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird Rob Zombie thing, I think.
I think we're getting a knock on the door, so I guess that's time to go.
Yes.
We will see you guys next week. Please tune in, and that's it.
Rate us on iTunes.